Hello and thank you for joining me today. Well, this is the Friday, July 19th edition of our video devotionals, and we appreciate you being with us today. Hope your Friday is going well. Just do a little bit of an adjustment there. And here we are at the end of another work week. So we're just about, I guess, right at 2/3 through the month of July. And good night. You can imagine we're almost into the month of August, and then we're talking about school starting back and how that goes. So it definitely, time is certainly flying by very quickly, but at any rate, I guess we just have to take each day and do what we can with it. All right, well, let's jump into it. It is Friday. Our theme this week has been using the word protection. We're going to be in the New Testament today. We're going to be in Romans chapter 13. If you've been in church any length of time, this will be familiar territory, so we're going to read some verses here and then leave you with a final thought here on this theme of protection. And certainly we know that God is in the business of protecting his own, that's for sure. All right, so before we read, again, thank you for all who watch. We appreciate you, and we hope that as we continue to do these will be a blessing to you. It's like one preacher said, sometimes a sermon or a devotion like this, you may not need it today, but just kind of file it back because there's going to come a day in which you're probably going to need some of these themes and really rely upon it, but it's good to have them kind of hidden in our heart and kind of refresh ourselves with it, right? All right, so notice here Romans chapter 13, verse 1, it says, "Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of God. The powers that be are ordained of God. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power resisteth the ordinance of God, and they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation." Now, God's talking about, obviously, all power belongs with God. We know that's being stated here, but God has set up institutions like government, and those institutions have the power to, as we're going to read further, to keep society from just being totally corrupt or totally violent. And God says if you resist that power that he has set up, then you're resisting God, and we don't want to be doing that, of course. And the Bible says they're going to receive to themselves damnation. Again, not good, right? Look at verse 3, "For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil. Wilt thou then not be afraid of the power? Do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise of the same." Now, we all can give examples of rulers that have been horrible rulers and ruthless and all of that, and reigning with the iron fist. We get that. But still, without government and without those institutions, then society would be much worse. And God, of course, has a way to balance out those situations where there is leadership that's just so ungodly it's actually dangerous. Notice verse 4. "For he," the rulers, "for he is the minister of God to thee for good. But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid, for he beareth not the sword in vain. For he is the minister of God, a revenger to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil." Now we're going to stop there. So here's my take on this. Obviously, it's admonishing us to give our allegiance and our duty to obey to these governments, to this leadership, whether it's local or even on the national level. But here's what I want to say about that. That being said, that's how God protects us. He uses this institution we call government, these rulers, to help us and to protect us. So God does that. God can do it without them, obviously, just like when I tell folks that request prayer for they're going to have a surgery or something. God doesn't need to use a surgeon. God doesn't need to use the medicine. He doesn't need hospitals. He doesn't have to do that. But here's the thing. God uses the doctors. God uses the surgeons. God uses the medicine. God uses the institutions in healthcare. We understand that. God can do it without it, but he also uses them. So the point is there's a service provided. And it's kind of like there's a fellow one day, he said, "Man, I got a headache and I'm going to pray for God to remove it." And he prayed and prayed and prayed and didn't get any results. And then he realized, you know what, I think my answer is in the medicine cabinet. If I go take a couple of aspirin or Advils or ibuprofen, whatever it is, and that headache goes away, then guess what? God can answer the prayer through that means. So my point is, God helps keep us safe through these rulers, the institutions that we know as governments. That's why we should be thankful for them and pray for them and all of that. We're going to stop right there. Hope you have a great weekend, great Sunday. Lord willing, we'll see you back on Monday. So be safe and have an enjoyable weekend and Sunday. and we'll see you then.